The silent vanguard. The distress signal faded in and out, crackling across subspace channels that hadn't been used in decades. 3 words, repeated over and over. Run, hide, pray. It was too late for Iridu Prime. The garden world, once home to 12 billion souls, burned beneath the shadow of the Krayt Warship. The Coalition evacuation fleet had managed to save only a fraction before the orbital bombardment began. Now, all that remained were flames and ash. Admiral Thexla watched from the bridge of the Coalition flagship as another planet fell. Her scales had grayed with age and stress, her once vibrant crest now permanently flattened against her skull. "That's the 17th world this cycle," she said, her voice hollow. "We cannot match their pace. The Krayt leave nothing behind." Her first officer replied, mandibles clicking in distress. No negotiations, no terms of surrender, just annihilation. The Krayt Dominion had appeared from the galactic rim 3 years ago, insectoid conquerors with crystalline exoskeletons and ships that seemed to devour stars. Their language consisted only of commands and threats. Their technology outstripped anything the Coalition had developed in centuries of peaceful cooperation. What had begun as border incursions quickly became an extinction-level threat. The Krayt didn't conquer worlds. They harvested them, strip-mined the resources, consumed the biomass, and moved on to the next target. "We should retreat to the Halden sector," suggested General Orn, the hulking Volarus military commander. His species was among the most physically imposing in the Coalition, yet even they fell easily to Krayt weapons. "Make our final stand there." "Another retreat," Admiral Thexla sighed. "How many times can we fall back before there's nowhere left to go?" The tactical display showed the grim reality. 23 Coalition worlds lost, hundreds of ships destroyed, and the Krayt advance continuing unabated. The Coalition had tried everything: diplomacy, guerrilla warfare, even suicide runs against the Krayt world ships. Nothing worked. "There are rumors," the communications officer said hesitantly. Thexla turned. "Speak freely, Ensign. Some of our deep space listening posts picked up unusual activity in the Forbidden Zone. A ship of unknown configuration destroyed a Krayt scout fleet near the Veil Nebula." The bridge fell silent. The Forbidden Zone, a vast, empty region of space, declared off-limits by Coalition Charter 2 centuries ago. Few remembered why it was forbidden, but the warning remained: stay away from the Forbidden Zone and the dangerous species that dwelled within. "The humans," General Orn whispered, the word itself seeming to chill the air. "Humans are extinct," Thexla snapped. "They destroyed themselves in their war madness. That's why we cordoned off their territory." But even as she spoke, a small spark of hope ignited within her. Perhaps the rumors were true. Perhaps. Commander Vikesh Singh of the human stellar ship Harbinger watched the tactical display with calculated interest. The Krayt vessels moved in predictable patterns, efficient, but unimaginative, like insects following pheromone trails. "Are we maintaining stealth protocols?" he asked. Lieutenant Commander Aisha Chen nodded from the tactical station. "Quantum field is stable. As far as they're concerned, we don't exist." The Harbinger, sleek and obsidian against the backdrop of space, was humanity's most advanced vessel. Not the largest, nor the most heavily armed, but the most technologically sophisticated ship ever to emerge from Earth's shipyards. It was designed for one purpose: reconnaissance. "How long have we been watching them?" Singh asked. 3 months, 7 days, Commander," Chen replied. "We've observed the fall of 17 worlds." Singh's jaw tightened. The Harbinger's mission had been clear: observe only. Report back to Earth Command. Do not engage. Humanity had spent 2 centuries rebuilding after the Purge Wars, carefully hiding their recovery from the rest of the galaxy. They'd watched from the shadows as the coalition of allied species expanded, developed, and grew complacent. But now, watching another civilization face extinction, something stirred in the commander, something human. Tactical analysis of the Crack assault pattern, he asked. They're systematic, Chen replied. They deploy harvester units after the initial bombardment. Their ships are powerful but predictable. They don't expect resistance after the first wave. Singh's dark eyes narrowed. And their next target? Proxima Centauri Colony, a coalition research outpost. Population approximately 20,000. Singh knew that name. Proxima Centauri, one of humanity's first extrasolar colonies, abandoned after the Purge Wars. The coalition had reclaimed it decades ago, unaware of its history. Prepare to break stealth protocols, Singh said quietly. Chen looked up, startled. Sir, our orders. I know our orders, Lieutenant Commander. But some things transcend orders. Singh stood, straightening his midnight blue uniform. The Crack need to learn that some parts of this galaxy are not theirs to take. The Crack assault fleet approached Proxima Centauri with the same methodical precision they brought to every conquest. 5 destroyer-class vessels surrounded the central harvester ship, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with sickly green energy. Inside the lead destroyer, Hive Commander Kazik felt only the cold satisfaction of efficiency. The Crack did not experience emotions as other species understood them. They felt only hunger for resources, for expansion, for dominion. Begin orbital bombardment sequence, Kazik ordered, its mandibles clicking. Standard harvesting pattern. The destroyer's weapon systems began charging, energy building toward the devastating barrage that would break Proxima Centauri's minimal defenses. The colony below had already begun evacuations, but as with all coalition worlds, they had started too late. There would be no escape. Anomaly detected, reported a drone operator, its voice a monotone buzz. Unknown energy signature approaching from Sector 7. Kazik tilted its crystalline head. Identify. Unable to comply. Configuration matches no known coalition vessel. Before Kazik could issue another command, space itself seemed to ripple. A vessel appeared, sleek, black, and eerily silent. It was smaller than the Crack destroyers, but moved with impossible speed and precision. Unknown vessel, Kazik transmitted on all frequencies. You have entered Crack harvesting territory. Surrender or be destroyed. The response came not in words, but in action. The unknown ship accelerated toward the Crack fleet, its hull suddenly illuminated with pulsing blue energy signatures. Weapons detected, the drone operator reported. Configuration unknown. Kazik felt the first stirrings of something like concern. Target the vessel. Full barrage. The Crack destroyer fired. Plasma beams and gravity torpedoes streaking across the void toward the intruder. But the black ship moved with uncanny agility, evading the barrage as if it had known where each shot would land before it was fired. And then it responded. A single pulse of energy, brilliant white, tinged with blue, erupted from the ship's prow. It struck the nearest Crack destroyer not as an explosion, but as a wave that passed through the crystalline hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the destroyer simply came apart. Not with the spectacular detonation of conventional weapons, but with the quiet finality of molecular bonds severing simultaneously. One moment a mighty warship, the next an expanding cloud of component atoms. Silence fell across the Crack command network. Impossible, Kazik whispered. The black ship rotated slowly, facing the remaining Crack vessels. Its message was clear. Leave or face the same fate. For the first time in the history of the Crack Dominion's expansion, a battle fleet retreated without completing its mission. Phase disruptor effective against Crack hull composition, Lieutenant Commander Chen reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. 1 shot, 1 kill, as predicted. Commander Singh nodded, betraying no emotion despite the magnitude of what they had just done. Damage report. None, sir. Their weapons couldn't penetrate our quantum field. Throughout the Harbinger's Bridge, the crew maintained their disciplined focus, but Singh could sense their satisfaction. Humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment, studying, building, perfecting technologies that the coalition races couldn't even imagine. "Scan the colony," Singh ordered. "Casualties?" "Minimal, sir." The Crack hadn't begun their main bombardment. Singh allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Prepare to jump to stealth protocols. Our message has been delivered." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Coalition standard frequencies." Singh hesitated. Contact with other species was expressly forbidden without direct authorization from Earth Command. But he had already broken protocol by engaging the Crack. "Put it through," he decided. "Audio only." A voice filled the bridge, trembling, awestruck, speaking in coalition standard, a language humans had continued to study even after their supposed extinction. "Unknown vessel, this is Governor Lyle of Proxima Centauri Colony. You saved us. Who are you?" Singh exchanged glances with his executive officer, who gave a slight nod. "This is Commander Vikesh Singh of the human stellar ship Harbinger," he replied, each word measured and deliberate. "We were in the neighborhood." A long silence followed. "Human." The governor finally responded, disbelief evident in her voice. "But the humans here." "Extinct." Singh finished for her. "That's what we wanted you to think." Before the governor could respond, Singh nodded to his communications officer, who cut the transmission. "Jump to quantum stealth," he ordered. "Set course for Earth. It's time to report back." As the Harbinger disappeared from conventional sensors, becoming once more a ghost in the void, Singh knew that everything had changed. The careful isolation humanity had maintained for 2 centuries was over. The galaxy would soon learn that humans had returned, and they had not come unprepared. Admiral Thexla stared at the recording for the 12th time, still unable to believe what she was seeing. The black ship that had appeared from nowhere, the impossible weapon that had atomized a Crack destroyer with a single shot. And that name, human stellar ship Harbinger. "It's authenticated?" she asked again. "Yes, Admiral," her intelligence officer confirmed. "Multiple sources, and reports are coming in from other sectors. Similar ships have been sighted near Crack fleets. They appear, strike, and vanish." General Orn paced the briefing room, his massive frame radiating tension. "Humans," he growled. "The Warbringers. The Deathmakers. Have we exchanged one nightmare for another? The humans are fighting the Crack," Thexla pointed out. "That makes them allies, not enemies." "For now," Orn countered. "But the histories speak clearly about human nature, their tendency toward violence, their unpredictability. There's a reason the Coalition isolated their territory after their apparent self-destruction." Thexla couldn't disagree. The histories were indeed clear. Humans had been deemed too dangerous for inclusion in galactic society, a species that turned even the most benign technologies toward warfare, that seemed to thrive on conflict rather than cooperation. But times had changed. The Coalition faced extinction at the hands of the Crack. And now, humanity had returned, with technologies that could actually hurt the invaders. "We need to make contact," she decided. Officially, General Orn's crest flared in alarm. "The Coalition Charter expressly forbids. The Coalition will cease to exist if the Crack continue unchecked." Thexla cut him off. "Would you rather maintain our principles while our worlds burn, or seek help from the only species that seems capable of fighting back?" Before Orn could respond, the tactical officer burst into the briefing room, his eyes wide with urgency. "Admiral, the Crack, they're changing course. All of them. Every fleet we're tracking." "Changing to where?" Thexla demanded. "They're converging, Admiral, mobilizing everything they have." The officer swallowed hard. "They're heading toward the Forbidden Zone. Toward human space." Admiral Thexla felt a chill run through her scales. The Crack had recognized the threat that humanity posed, perhaps even faster than the Coalition had, and they were responding with overwhelming force. "It seems," she said quietly, "that the humans have just become the Krayak's primary target, and possibly our last hope." As she spoke, somewhere on the edge of known space, humanity was awakening from its long slumber. Ships were moving, weapons charging, plans unfolding that had been centuries in the making. The galaxy was about to remember why it had feared humans in the first place. The awakening storm. Earth was nothing like the histories described. The Coalition records painted a picture of a devastated world, a casualty of humanity's self-destructive tendencies, a radioactive wasteland, uninhabitable after the purge wars that had apparently driven humans to extinction. But as Admiral Thexla's diplomatic vessel approached the blue-green planet, escorted by two sleek human warships, she saw no evidence of that devastation. Instead, she witnessed a world thriving, orbital habitats and defense platforms encircling the planet like a protective web, surface cities gleaming beneath wisps of cloud. "They deceived us," General Orn muttered beside her, his massive frame tense with apprehension. "All this time, they let us believe they were gone." "Can you blame them?" Thexla replied softly. "The Coalition exiled them from galactic affairs, called them too dangerous for integration. And were we wrong?" Orn gestured toward the view screen where a human battle group was visible. 5 ships that looked similar to the Harbinger but larger, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. "Look at what they've built in isolation. Weapons that can destroy Krayak ships with a single shot." Thexla had no answer for that. The humans had indeed turned their isolation into an opportunity. While the Coalition had focused on cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, and peaceful expansion, humanity had apparently spent 2 centuries preparing for war. "Approaching Earth defense perimeter," announced their pilot. "Human vessels are transmitting docking protocols." This meeting was unprecedented, the first official contact between the Coalition and humanity since the exile decree 200 years ago. Only the existential threat of the Krayak had made it possible. As their ship passed through Earth's defensive grid, Thexla saw the true extent of human military development. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, stealth satellites that their sensors could barely detect, an entire civilization built with conflict in mind. "It's like they've been expecting an invasion all this time," she murmured. Orn's expression darkened. "Or planning one." The meeting chamber inside Earth Command was austere and functional. A circular room with a central holographic display and straight-backed chairs arranged around it. No ornate decorations like Coalition chambers, no ceremonial artifacts or symbols of peaceful intentions. Just maps, strategic assessments, weapon schematics. Admiral Helena Costa, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. She didn't waste time on diplomatic pleasantries. "The Krayak have diverted 60% of their forces toward human space," she began without preamble, activating the holographic display to show fleet movements. "They recognize us as the primary threat now. Because of your attack on their forces at Proxima Centauri," General Orn stated, an accusatory edge to his voice. Costa's expression didn't change. "No, because we can hurt them. Something the Coalition has failed to do for 3 years." Thexla stepped forward, deliberately placing herself between Orn and the human admiral. "We appreciate your intervention, Admiral Costa. But we need to understand, why now? Humans have been watching the galaxy from hiding for centuries. Why reveal yourselves by attacking the Krayak?" Admiral Costa's eyes flicked to a younger officer standing at attention nearby. Commander Singh of the Harbinger, the man who had fired the first shot. "A tactical decision," Costa replied simply. "We've been monitoring the Krayak since they first appeared at the galactic rim. Their pattern of conquest would eventually lead them to human space. Commander Singh made the calculation that a demonstration of our capabilities might deter them." A thin smile. "It seems to have had the opposite effect. And now they come with everything they have," Thexla said. "Your demonstration provoked them." "Good." This came from another human, an older man with dark skin, and a dignified bearing who had been silent until now. He stepped forward, and even Admiral Costa deferred to him with a respectful nod. Director Marcus Jong, Earth Intelligence Division, he introduced himself. And yes, provoking the Kraak was precisely our intention. Orn's crest flared in alarm. You wanted this conflict. We wanted the Kraak to focus on us rather than continuing to harvest coalition worlds. Jong corrected smoothly. Every world they destroy makes them stronger. More resources, more biomass to convert into ships and troops. By redirecting their attention toward Earth, we've given the coalition time to regroup. Thexla felt a chill run down her spine. The humans had deliberately made themselves targets, had calculated the strategic value of saving coalition worlds, even as they prepared for a massive assault on their own territory. You need us, she realized aloud. Despite your technology, you need coalition support to defeat the Kraak. Admiral Costa and Director Jong exchanged glances. Need is perhaps too strong a word, Jong replied carefully. But an alliance would be mutually beneficial. We have the weapons and tactical knowledge to hurt the Kraak. You have the numbers and industrial capacity to sustain a prolonged conflict. So that's why you revealed yourselves, Orn said, his voice heavy with suspicion. Not from altruism, but because you require allies. Commander Singh spoke for the first time, his voice quiet but firm. With respect, General, we revealed ourselves because watching worlds burn while we had the power to help was no longer acceptable. An uncomfortable silence fell across the chamber. The Kraak will reach the outer defense perimeter in 72 hours, Admiral Costa said finally, returning to the tactical display. We're prepared to share our phase disruption technology with coalition forces. In return, we need your fleet to reinforce our position at Neptune. Thexla looked at the human leaders, their calm demeanor in the face of an approaching armada, their matter-of-fact discussion of battles yet to be fought. These were not the impulsive, emotional creatures described in coalition histories. These humans had evolved into something more disciplined, more focused, and perhaps more dangerous than ever before. We'll need to consult with Coalition High Command, she said. Zong's expression remained impassive. Of course, but I suggest you do so quickly. The Kraak won't wait for diplomatic processes to conclude. The Kraak's supreme overmind, a vast crystalline intelligence at the heart of the largest world ship, processed the data from its scout vessels with growing concern. The human defense grid around their home system was unlike anything the Kraak had encountered. Layers of automated platforms, minefields that bent space-time itself, and stealth vessels lurking in ambush positions. Most concerning were the reports from the few survivors of human attacks. The strange weapons that bypassed Kraak shields and armor entirely. The impossibly advanced stealth technology that made human ships virtually undetectable until they chose to reveal themselves. These humans were not like the coalition species, complacent, cooperative creatures who had grown soft through centuries of peace. These were predators who had spent their isolation honing their capabilities. The Overmind reached a conclusion. The humans must be exterminated immediately, before their technology could spread to their coalition allies. Total commitment of resources was necessary, even if it meant temporarily abandoning the harvest of other worlds. New orders pulsed through the collective consciousness of the Dominion. All ships converge, all resources allocated. The human threat must be eliminated. The Kraak battle fleets, hundreds of vessels ranging from nimble hunters to massive world ships, accelerated toward the Sol system, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the void. They did not know that they were heading exactly where humanity wanted them. Commander Singh stood on the observation deck of Earth's Titan base, watching as coalition ships arrived through the wormhole junction. It was a sight he never expected to witness. Alien vessels flying alongside human warships, preparing for a coordinated defense. Impressive turnout, said a voice behind him. Singh turned to find Admiral Thexla approaching, her silver scales catching the light from Saturn's rings visible through the viewport. The coalition responded more quickly than we anticipated, Singh admitted. After centuries of isolation, we weren't sure you would come at all. Thexla studied the human officer carefully. You saved Proxima Centauri when you could have remained hidden. That earned you consideration. She paused, though many in the coalition still fear what humanity has become during its exile. Singh's expression remained neutral, but his eyes betrayed a hint of weariness. We became what we needed to be to survive. The coalition cast us out because our nature was too aggressive, too focused on defense and security. But those very traits may save the galaxy now. And after? Thexla asked quietly. If we defeat the Crack, what then? Will humanity retreat back into isolation, or will you seek to claim the position in galactic affairs that was denied to you? Singh turned back to the viewport, watching as human and coalition ships maneuvered into defensive formations. That's not my decision to make, but I can tell you this. 2 centuries alone in the dark has taught humanity that isolation is not the answer. Neither is conquest. A soft chime interrupted their conversation, a tactical alert. Singh checked his communications device. They're here, he said simply. The Crack have entered the outer solar system. The battle for Sol began not with a dramatic charge but with eerie silence. The Crack fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, their sensors scanning the defensive positions arrayed against them. They found nothing. No ships, no stations, just the empty void and distant planets. Human stealth technology had hidden the combined fleet completely. The trap was set. Admiral Costa stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, the largest warship ever constructed by human hands. Around her, crew members worked with practiced efficiency, maintaining the quantum stealth field that rendered the entire battle group invisible to Crack sensors. They're proceeding cautiously, reported her tactical officer, moving in standard harvester formation. They know we're here, Costa said. They just can't see us. She opened a channel to the rest of the fleet. All vessels maintain stealth protocols. Let them come deeper into the kill zone. Across the system, coalition ships equipped with hastily integrated human stealth modules held position alongside their human allies. It had taken remarkable cooperation to marry the 2 technologies in such a short time. Human phase disruptors installed on coalition vessels, coalition shield harmonics adapted to protect human ships. The Crack advanced slowly, their massive world ships surrounded by swarms of smaller vessels. They passed Neptune's orbit, then Uranus, moving inexorably toward the heart of human territory. They're reaching optimal engagement range, announced the tactical officer. Admiral Costa nodded. Signal Director Zhang. Execute Prometheus Protocol. Throughout the solar system, specially positioned stealth platforms activated simultaneously. Not weapons, something far more subtle. They began broadcasting on frequencies that the humans had discovered were unique to Crack neural networks, psychic wavelengths that connected their hive mind across vast distances. But these weren't simple jamming signals. They were carefully crafted disruption patterns, designed to create confusion, to sow discord within the perfect synchronicity of the Crack collective consciousness. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Crack fleet faltered. Ships drifted out of formation as conflicting commands raced through their network. The precise coordination that made them so formidable began to unravel. Phase 1 complete, Costa announced. All ships drop stealth and engage designated targets. Execute with extreme prejudice. The combined human coalition fleet materialized from nothing, surrounding the disoriented Crack armada in a 3-dimensional web of firepower. Phase disruptors, gravity lances, and conventional weapons opened fire simultaneously. The Crack, their hive mind fragmented by the human disruption signal, could not coordinate their defense. Their ships, individually powerful, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. In the command center on Titan Base, Admiral Thexla watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and horror. The humans had turned warfare into a science, had studied the Crack so thoroughly that they could attack not just their ships but their very consciousness. "This isn't a battle," she murmured. "It's an execution." Beside her, Director Zhang monitored the progression of the engagement with clinical detachment. "The crack gave us no choice," he said. "They do not negotiate. They do not surrender. They only consume." Sometimes survival requires decisive action. On the main view screen, a crack world-ship disintegrated under concentrated fire from 3 human cruisers. It was the largest crack vessel ever destroyed. And it was just the beginning. The battle raged for hours, spreading across the solar system, as crack ships attempted to regroup, to escape the trap that had ensnared them. But there was nowhere to run. The humans had deployed jump interdiction fields, preventing faster-than-light escapes. The Coalition fleet had sealed off traditional space lanes. Commander Singh's Harbinger danced through the chaos, targeting crack command ships with surgical precision. His crew worked with machine-like efficiency, identifying vulnerabilities and exploiting them without hesitation. "Crack flagship detected," Lieutenant Commander Chen reported. They managed to establish a localized command network, coordinating the remaining forces. Singh studied the tactical display. The crack Supreme Overminds vessel, a monstrous crystalline structure that pulsed with malevolent energy. It had surrounded itself with its remaining escort ships, creating a defensive perimeter that even phase disruptors couldn't easily penetrate. "We need to end this," Singh decided. "Prepare for close-range engagement. Alert the retribution that we're going after the Overmind directly." The Harbinger accelerated toward the heart of the remaining crack formation, its engines pushing to maximum output. Behind it, 2 Coalition heavy cruisers followed, providing covering fire as crack defenders moved to intercept. "They're concentrating their fire on us," Chen warned as the ship shuddered from a near miss. "As expected," Singh replied calmly. "Maintain course. Prepare to execute Black Star maneuver on my mark." The Harbinger plunged deeper into the crack formation, drawing their attention, becoming the focus of their remaining coordination. Crack weapons fire intensified, occasionally connecting with the human ship's defenses in bursts of dissipating energy. "Now," Singh commanded. The Harbinger's quantum engines executed a maneuver that should have been physically impossible. Instantaneous jump of less than 1 kilometer, placing the ship directly behind the crack flagship's defensive screen. Before the confused defenders could react, the human vessel fired every weapon in its considerable arsenal. Phase disruptors tore through the Overmind ship's crystalline hull. Conventional torpedoes followed, detonating deep within the stricken vessel. But it wasn't enough. The Overmind ship was massive, designed to withstand tremendous punishment. It began to turn, bringing its main weapons to bear on the suddenly vulnerable Harbinger. "Their shields are adapting," Chen reported urgently. "They've analyzed our phase frequency." Singh nodded, unsurprised. The crack were nothing if not adaptable. "Signal the Coalition vessels. Execute final phase." Across the battlefield, Coalition ships that had been held in reserve suddenly accelerated toward the crack flagship. Their weapons weren't as advanced as human phase disruptors, but they operated on completely different principles, frequencies that the crack couldn't adapt to simultaneously. The combined firepower of human innovation and Coalition determination converged on the Supreme Overminds vessel. Its defenses, stretched thin trying to counter multiple attack vectors, finally collapsed. The crack flagship didn't explode so much as dissolve, coming apart in layers as weapons fire penetrated deeper into its structure. At its heart, the crystalline consciousness that had directed the conquest of countless worlds shattered into a billion glittering fragments. Throughout the system, the remaining crack vessels suddenly lost all coordination. Some continued fighting mindlessly. Others drifted powerless. A few self-destructed, their internal systems collapsing without the Overmind's guidance. The battle was over. The crack dominion, the unstoppable force that had terrorized the galaxy, had been broken in a single decisive engagement. 2 weeks later, Admiral Thexla stood in Earth's orbital diplomatic center, watching the planet turn slowly beneath her. The Coalition delegation had been negotiating with Earth's leadership since the victory. discussing everything from technology sharing to defense pacts to humanity's reintegration into galactic society. "It's beautiful," she said as Director Zhang joined her at the viewport. "Not at all what our histories described. We maintained the illusion of our destruction deliberately," Zhang replied. "After the Coalition exiled us, we decided that if the galaxy wanted us gone, we would let them believe we had destroyed ourselves. It gave us time to rebuild, to advance on our own terms. To prepare for war," Vexley observed. "To prepare for survival," Zhang corrected gently. "Humans have always understood something that the Coalition forgot. Peace is not the natural state of the universe. Competition, conflict, struggle, these are constants. To survive, one must be ready to face them." Vexla turned from the viewport to face the human director. "And now, the Krak threat is neutralized. Will humanity turn its weapons elsewhere, perhaps against those who once exiled you?" Zhang smiled, a genuine expression that reached his eyes. "Is that what you fear? That we've been planning revenge all this time?" "The thought has occurred to many in the Coalition leadership," Vexla admitted. "Then let me ease your concerns, Admiral. Humanity has no interest in conquest or revenge. What we want, what we have always wanted, is to be accepted as equals, to contribute our unique perspective to galactic civilization." Zhang gestured toward Earth. "We've spent 2 centuries advancing in isolation. Imagine what we might achieve together." Vexla considered this. The humans had indeed saved the Coalition, had sacrificed their secrecy and risked their homeworld to stop the Krak. And they had shown remarkable restraint in victory, offering cooperation rather than demanding concessions. Perhaps the old fears were unfounded, or perhaps humanity had simply matured during its long exile. "The Coalition Council has voted to formally resign the exile decree," she said at last. "Humanity is invited to rejoin galactic society as full members, with all rights and responsibilities thereof." Zhang nodded, unsurprised. "And the conditions?" Vexla hesitated. "There is concern about human military technology.